of PLN audit best practice.
And as moderator of this session, Bukhari Zainal Arifin, he is an internal auditor, manager of Mega Project Audit who graduated as civil engineering from Gajah Mada University. We would like to invite you, Bapak Bukhari Zainal Arifin. Please, stage is yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much to Mrs. Vidya and Mr. Taufik. And allow me to take over for this session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all participants. My name is Bukhari Zainal Arifin, currently working as an auditor of construction and project management in PLN. And today I feel very honored to be trusted to guide to our discussion. Firstly, I would like to thank the participants who attended today, both offline and online. Hopefully, on the second day, we will remain focused and enthusiastic until the final agenda. As we know, PLN as the state electricity company has a very strategic role in the national development in Indonesia, especially in achieving the national energy mix in the context of energy transition. To ensure the company performance runs optimally and accountable, a strong and effective audit system is needed. So, today we will get sharing directly from Chief Audit Executive of PLN about the transformation, innovation, and best practice that have been implemented in PLN. Let us welcome with applause Mr. Sulistyo Biantoro. Well, Mr. Sulistyo Biantoro has a professional experience in various fields. Currently, he serves as a governor of IIA Indonesia and as a chief audit executive at PLN. Previously, he served as human capital expert at PLN, acting CEO at PT Haliora Power and EPV Corporate Finance and EPV Accounting, Tax and Insurance at PLN. In terms of professional recognition, Mr. Sulistyo has achieved various impressive certifications, including Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Fraud Examiner, Chartered Financial Analyst, Chartered Accountant Indonesia, and Certified Public Accountant. His education is also very impressive. Mr. Sulistyo started his academic journey from STAN Jakarta, then obtained a Master of Commerce degree from the University of Queensland, Australia. And finally, he studied at MIT Sloan School of Management in Boston, USA. Okay, in our discussion today, I would like to explain that presenter have a maximum time of 45 minutes. And after the presenter explain the material, a 15 minutes question and answer session will be open. Well, let's listen to the presentation that will be delivered to the Mr. Sulistyo Biantoro. Time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Bukhari. Allow me to stand up, and I think I would like to be closer with my friend here. So, good morning, everyone. How are you today? Excellent. From Brunei to Myanmar, from Indonesia to Filipina, HAPUA advance like a North Star. exchange ideas, benefit. So this morning, I will be talking less seriously. Because after this, you will have a panel that discuss about artificial intelligence, and then anything about IT. So it would be very serious as well. So I don't need to give another burden to myself and to you all. So this morning, I will be accompanied by my friend from the PLN Internal Audit Group. Let me introduce my colleagues here. Pak Heriawan, please stand up. Pak Heriawan. Pak Heriawan is Executive Vice President of Strategy Audit and Consultancy. Right, Pak, ya? He has designed the methodology audit and also make an instrumental changes to the way we audit, the way we doing internal audit function here in PLN. And the second one is Pak Ega. He is currently the Vice President of Construction, Audit of Construction, and he is the one that will oversee all of the project in PLN. I will talk to you later. How big, how fast the project, the construction project in PLN. And the third one, Pak Windy Winarso. Pak Windy Winarso is an Executive Vice President of Audit, Transmission and Distribution. So yesterday we heard from my colleague from Philippines, there's a transmission, there is a power generation, there is a distribution. So Pak Windy covering from Aceh until Papua, from Kalimantan until Java. Transmission, distribution network, and also the unit that serving the customer. So he has a very wide coverage area. And the fourth one is Pak Marno, Pak Sumarno, please stand up. He is the Executive Vice President of Audit of Commerce, IT, and also Enabler. So non-tech, if one is just said, non-tech audit is actually done by Pak Marno. So it is also very important and very, very wide coverage for the audit. Thank you, Pak Marno. Yeah. And I have, I think 1, 2, 3, one more. Please come forward, Pak Nur Taufik. You may sit there, Pak. Pak Ente, you may sit there, yeah. So I don't have to sit alone. Yeah, this is Pak Nur Taufik. He is the Executive Vice President of Investigative Audit. So he oversees the investigative audit process, not only in PLN, but also the whole PLN group. So he has a very challenging task. So give again the round of applause for Mr. Nur Taufik. I think before I start, I would like to show the map of Southeast Asia. Is there any map here? Oh, here it is. So sometimes we lost in space, right? So it's better for us to know where we are now, right? So it is a space dimension. We can find here HAPUA, as from Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, right? Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei. Is it Sabah and Sarawak include Malaysia, right? Indonesia. So it's a very strategic place. And I think this map tells many things. And it is also telling, maybe telling, how big or how fast area that has to be covered by HAPUA, right? Indonesia itself, when we see at the map, it is a archipelagic country. If I'm not mistaken, we have about 17,000 islands, big and small, right? We have 5 big islands: Sumatra Island, Kalimantan, part of it we sharing with Brunei and also with Malaysia, Sulawesi, half of Papua, and also Java. But we have so many others islands to serve in Indonesia. And that's why yesterday I talked to my colleague here that when she or he asked about the electrification ratio in Indonesia, yes sir, it is currently about 99% electrification ratio in Indonesia. 99% of the population in Indonesia is having an access to an electricity. But how about 1%? It is very challenging task today for Indonesia and for PLN to make them feel independence. Independence as a human being, to have an access to electricity and then to have an access to another infrastructure. And it's a huge task. And this is a responsibility of Indonesia to give all its citizens an equal and a better life. And I think the same with you, with my friend here in Malaysia and Singapore, in Brunei, Philippines, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand, right? And that's why we want to learn with you, with all of you, in order for us, for me, for my team, for PLN, to be a better corporation, to a better servant to our country, to have a reliable, to have a to have an affordable and to have a sustainable electricity for Indonesia. Next slide. Yesterday, we saw our friend profile a corporation from Singapore, TNB Malaysia, Sarawak Energy, right? Laos, Vietnam, Philippines. And to give you an idea how big and will be much bigger exposure that will PLN have the way ahead. As of today, PLN manage about almost 7,000 units of power generation. This is PLN Group, because starting from 2022, we created a subholding, we call it Genco subholding, two Genco subholding, Nusantara Power and Indonesia Power. So most of this power generation is currently owned and operated by Indonesia Power and also Nusantara Power. Indonesian current capacity, this is a nameplate capacity, right? So about 70 gigawatt, so 69,000 megawatt. Right. And PLN is currently serving almost 90 million customers all across Indonesia, from Sabang in Aceh until Merauke in Papua. It is 90 million customers. And we maintain, we own, operate, maintain the substation, transmission line, distribution line, right? So it is a vertically integrated utility company in Indonesia. Yes, today we have private sectors also contributing in the power generation. Yeah, today almost 40%. Almost 40% of the power generation is owned by the independent power producer, IPP. And the total asset, mostly fixed asset, right? Infrastructure, electricity infrastructure. Today is about $100 billion US. And will be much more. If you look at the 10 years expansion planning, if you look at the PLN, the Indonesia 10 years expansion planning in the electricity sector, 2021, 2030, and today is under review to have a new at UPTL, a new 10 years planning. So based on the 10 years expansion planning, the 2021 to 2030, we have to add another 40 gigawatt capacity power plant here in Indonesia. and it is on its way. It is underway. That's why, we have weekly meeting with project management office, and this morning I call him, Pak, how do you manage the project? So far okay, Pak, So the project, based on the 10 years expansion planning of PLN, total project is about 2,800 project. 2,800 projects is currently monitored. We have a project management office, and Pak Egah and his team is doing as a third line to making sure that starting from the planning phase, doing the feasibility studies, pre-FS feasibility studies, and then investment decision, so until the construction. And it is scattered. Sumatera, Java, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Nusa Tenggara, Papua. And as of today, our revenue is about 30 billion US dollar, 30 billion US dollar. So it is a huge task, I guess. So it's require the strong information system, the strong people capability, and also partnership with all of the stakeholders. Of course, employee, supplier, provider. So this is an area that we, as an internal audit of PLN Group, should be overseeing all of this, to making sure that the objective is achieved, the process is governed by a good governance, comply to rules and regulations, all risks are identified, assessed, and managed. So this is PLN. So before I continue with this morning news, I would like Pak Heriawan to give a little bit, Pak, how does the strategy and consultancy division doing the job, or whatever, Pak, please, Pak.
Thank you, Mr. Sulistyo. One of our responsibility preparing how to ensure standard prosedur, consultancy, and then some tools how to manage audit and standard reporting, and then how to communicate it to board of director and board of commission. I think a little part my responsibility, Pak Sulit.
Okay, thank you, Pak. So, what about the consulting part, Pak?
Consulting, we give some advice to first line how to making solution when some problem or some risk to achievement a little purpose. So we give some advice how to manage to decrease risk or to manage some issue.
Okay, thank you, Pak. Yeah. You know that I actually trying to spend more time because I have, how many, Pak? 25 minutes? 20 minutes? So I'm trying to using more time. Yeah, as you may aware that yesterday is very serious topic, right? So we should have a good time this morning. So yeah. Okay, the first slide. When I came to internal audit, I was actually an external auditor. Yeah, I was working in a Supreme Audit Institution back then in 2002 until 2012, and then came to PLN in 2012, joining PLN, serving all of the operation side, doing the accounting, doing the reporting, tax, corporate finance, and then to subsidiary, overseeing the operation and maintenance in distribution side, and then learning about human capital. And in 2022, I was summoned, I was recalled to come to the audit sphere. So, like yesterday, I talked to Puan Lisa, yeah. I have to learn a lot again from her and from you all. So, but I would like to share something that I think it is very important. Something that I think that an internal auditor has to understand. First slide, please. Like yesterday, Pak Didi mentioned that I want an internal audit of PLN to be a strategic business partner. And we have this word since 2022 when I was summoned to internal audit. And he is still conveying this message until today. And it means a lot for me. You know, when I was in the human capital department, I learned about psychology, about communication, about subtle thing. People don't need to say something, and we understand. He said that your progress is little. Strategic business partner. It is a next slide, please. Yeah. Strategic business partner means you are a partner. You're part of family. We are part of family. As a partner means that you have to understand each other. You have to know what an expectation from others, right? To be in his or her shoes. So, I think here, it's not only a critic, it's not the cynical. Sometimes we say something, we mean something, but in reality, our report, our behavior, our communication don't reflect this intention. So remember this. Remember when our colleague, our second line, our first line say this. Yeah. I said to my colleagues, we have a commitment. We have a commitment to management, and we have a commitment to profession. This commitment from the profession. If you read the IPPF report, if you are an internal auditor, if you read the new Global Internal Audit Standard, the commitment is there to be a strategic business partner. Even further today, with new standard, even I question, oh, this standard is too high. The internal audit not only doing the assurance, advice, insight and foresight. So far. And yet today, and myself, my team, is struggling to operationalize, to make it happen, not only in the process of the assurance, process of consultancy, even in the day life, maybe we have something that we need to check. As a represent of our profession, to represent our function, central audit. And this philosophy, this fundamental principle, I try to convey to each and everyone in my team. And even here in Indonesia, sometimes we have a sharing session. It's our responsibility to a profession. We have to convey this as well. And today, I convey this to my colleague, to my esteemed colleague, esteemed company, that this is something that really fundamental, and we should start from this. Right. How internal audit to become a strategic business partner. It is a challenging task. It's not easy. Who says it's easy? It is challenging, but it is possible if we understand that this is good, this is beneficial for us, and also beneficial for our organization. We are the internal audit. It's not like yesterday I said, we are third-liner, but we are not the outliers. And the truth is, even today in PLN, I still have a condition like this. So this is a journey. This is a journey to become a good internal audit, to become a professional internal audit, to be really giving a strategic value, an added value to our organization. You should have this in mind. Always should have this in our mind. And it is not easy, but it is possible. Just give a little bit chance of possibility. So it will make us easier to move forward. Sometimes I challenge myself, I challenge my team. Oh, Pak Sulis, this KPI is too difficult. This objective is almost impossible. But if you want to be a competitive, if we want to be a better organization, you have to challenge yourself, right? I like the quote from Jack Ma. He said that when I asked my team about this idea, oh, this is easy, this is difficult. Oh, this one is good. Something that's difficult is good, because if no one else can do it and we can do it, we'll become a champion. So become a strategic business partner. In reality, we have to check everything. Yeah. Even in communication, reporting. So in internal audit PLN, today we have almost 300 auditors. But I believe with the vast coverage area from upstream to downstream, yeah, it's still so lah. Yeah. But to become a strategic business partner, so it's not only the technical side that we should have. Of course, we should have to understand the business process, right? We should have to understand the technical side. That's why the auditor, we have a technical people, IT guy, finance guy. But the most important thing is to understand our mission, to understand why this profession, why this function exists, why the stakeholders, why the society, why this organization need this function. Like the standard, international audit standards say that internal audit enhance, strengthen. Enhance means, if I'm not mistaken, I have to translate 3 times to talk in English. I'm Javanese, so I have to translate from Java language to Indonesian and to English. Enhance means, something better and to give more, right? So it is our profession, it is our duty to make it real. How this third function is able to accelerate the objective of the organization. Yes, we are doing compliant audit, but it is not for the compliant itself, but how we can add some more. Right? So in PLN, in internal audit PLN, the first thing that I did in 2002 is restructure the organization. One, I and we in PLN understand the importance of technology, the importance of digitalization. If you want to support the organization, if you want to accelerate the achievement of the program, so the process of assurance services, the process of audit has to be structured in such a way so it will not significantly disturb the operation in the first line and second line. Like I said to my friend, yes, an audit we have to ask the question, to inquire something, to ask the documentation. Let's think about the future. How we use technology without asking question, without asking the document. And then how we can know the real situation. That's a challenge of technology. How we make use of technology. Yeah, that's why in 2022, I insisted that PLN, Internal Audit PLN, has to strengthen the IT audit department and also data analytic and continuous auditing. And as of today, department that gain more time, more resources for myself is this department. You know, sometimes my colleague with IT background, they know the IT. But we need to integrate with the view of corporation, business process, how this process should be challenged, how this process should be reviewed, how we can make use the technology to make it life easier. I said to them, if we use technology and if we use tools and if we use some kind of high tech and it creates more problem, so it's not right. So technology should make life easier for the auditor as well, for the consultant as well. Because the process of inquiring, the process of asking document, verification, confirmation, for the people executing the program, it's a non-value added activity, right? So this is a challenge for me, for us, for the internal audit profession. How we say that we are a strategic business partner, but in reality we're adding and adding more assignment, adding more, audit activity. Yes, we understand the requirement of, market regulation, government, but this is the challenge. This is the challenge of our profession. How the activity that actually, in reality, stopping the process of executing the objective, become a strategic business partner. So that's the challenge. And it is a challenge, a huge challenge for us. Not to mention about the competency, right? How we can keep up with the progression in the operation, where actually we have a distance with them, right? When standard says that an auditor has to be independent, has to be structured in an organization that make this function to make an objective and independent conclusion, opinion. But at the same time, to give a good recommendation, something that implementable, something that can really be implemented. We need to understand the real ground. We need to understand the real problem, the real actual challenge in the operation. But we have a distance. That's why in PLN, when I came to this position, I said to management that I want the people in internal audit, some of it, or maybe half of it, or most of it coming from operation. And then they have to be, their capacity, their knowledge, their experience has to be maintained at the same level with their peers, with their colleagues in operation. So when there is a time that they need to go back to the operation, they can easily adapt. But at the same time, when they still in the internal audit, they can see the actual condition and operation. And it is not easy. It is easier said than done. Yeah, I said yesterday to my colleagues during dinner time, the other philosophy is why people in an organization have to come to internal audit and risk management. It is because this function has a unique competency. Yeah. A part of this critic. They have to see, high level all across the corporation, organization. They're trained to aware, to identify the risks, right? So when they go back to the operation, when they execute the program, when they execute the initiative, so it is measurable and controllable. And it is not easy. In reality, until today, it's still a challenge, but it's progressing. Yeah. For me, at least, we have a good understanding, this philosophy, and we strive, we push very hard to communicate this. If we believe, if we care for this function, if we believe, if we care for this profession, if we believe, and if we care that every part of the organization has to contribute, has to support the organization, and to find any possible ways to make it happen. So I think I will stop this, Pak. I will stop in this, and please share your experience. I'm not ashamed to say that 2 years for me, like yesterday, Pak Didi mentioned, Pak Sulis, I still hope. Although the voice is getting smaller and smaller, the tone is getting lower and lower. I mean that, okay. But please bear with me, right? We're trying, and it has to be detailed. You know, I learned today that 2 years is a long. 2 years is a long period. That's why. Yeah. But at least we understand this. We know our weaknesses. We know our position today. And I said to my team, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. What the important thing, we know where we are today. We know what should be in the future, and we are at the same boat. We are in the same family, and we will do our best to be what it should be. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much to Mr. Sulistyo Biantoro, who has presented the documentary very well. Next. Okay. Next, we will enter the question and answer session. Please, to the audience who are ready to ask question, raise your hand, then inform your name and company. Questions should be delivered briefly and directly. Okay. Maybe from our left side.
Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Okay. Waalaikumsalam.
Okay. I think, Bapak, my question to you, basically, we are now, I think, all of us here, I think all organizations now, we are actually in a transition for renewable energy. So how actually you prepare your staff, with all the competency required for the future, for example, like carbon capture, and then with the hydrogen, or even nuclear. So what's your plan for your staff to ensure that they have the capability and skill required for the future?
Thank you. Thank you, Puan Liza. This is very important question, and this is the challenge for me, the challenge for my team. And fortunately, here in PLN, we have a very good team in the HR department, Liza. So it is part of the talent development in PLN. It's not only for the operational side, not only for the risk management side, it is also for the internal audit. So some of us is currently dedicating to learn those areas, like the one that presented yesterday. He will be leaving soon to the UK to learn the renewable energy in September, doing master degree there. So each year, we send about 200 until 300 people, including our staff from the Internal Audit Department, to learn the new competence, right? It's a business development, and then the renewable energy, and include the technical side like the nuclear. So it is part of the process of this organization, PLN, as a group, to become to be able to harness the future, and like our vision to become a leader in this utility company. I think it is part of the organization talent development. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Puan Liza. Maybe from the other audience. Okay.
But Stephen here from Sarawak Energy. I think you mentioned about transformation. I think Puan Liza also about asking you about specific area or the new area. But I am asking more towards a bigger context, meaning I understand you have a strategic assurance and consulting. Now, Grover IA is moving from assurance to consulting. And the area that Puan Liza talking about is a new area. So a lot of time management also expect IA to have certain expertise to provide some advice and sharing and collaboration. So what is in this context, what do you think is your biggest challenge? Looking at your operation is so big and all those things, and I think you mentioned you got 300 staff, the mentality and culture of the staff. Like IA, we were also talking about people, process, and technology. What are your biggest challenge?
Yes, I think the biggest challenge is the people, right? That's why we have a cultural program. When we are trying to strengthen the risk management culture, it is embedded to the. We have a set of culture program every year, led by the HR department, and then like risk management put certain message. This is we have to strengthen the risk management culture, and then regarding like cybersecurity, embedded in the cultural program. So for us, an internal auditor, to change from the assurance provider purely, and then to become a strategic business partner, which is they ask in the audit doing work, kind of doing consultant project as well. So the basic competencies should be there, right? The operational competencies, the operational understanding has to be there and has to be maintained. But how we maintain, how we develop these people in the consultancy division to have a process, to have a result that meet the expectation of stakeholder. This is challenge, Pak. Yeah. So this is the division that also I given them so many time, so many resources. So I personally always say to them, please think that you are the chief executive officer, so you can expand your views, so you know the thing that should be reviewed, the thing that should be learned, the thing that should be gained, to benchmark, to compare, to contrast. And this is a challenge, Pak. But I believe that people, we have any activity is actually driven by my perception, by our perception, by our thinking. So if we can set up the framework, the right framework, the right philosophy, they will learn by him or herself. So that's very challenging because technology can be learned, hard competency can be studied, but which one is relevant? If you not thinking as a CEO, as a leader of this company, we will only see a certain thing, a very narrow, right? So I think this is a good start, the philosophy, and it drives how they develop himself as well. Yeah, Pak Stephen.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Stephen. Maybe from the others audience, any question?
I have 5 people, Pak, Bu, to answer your question. Don't worry. If I can answer a question, I can, ask a call friend, Pak. Please, Pak Dan. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks Pak for sharing. This is Wei Kiong from Singapore Power. So I just like to maybe ask, in terms of the importance of people, right? You mentioned, and you say your side you have this so-called secondment or rotation from the operation. How easy is it for you to get the best people? Because operation will want to keep the best people to run the operation, right? How do you convince them that you actually need good people to come, because they then have the good so-called standing to go out and check on other people and earn the due respect, right? So I think in Singapore side, the operation audit team, which is another team, not my side, their challenge is that they can't get the operation to release the good people because they want to keep them for themselves to run the operation.
Yeah, the answer is not easy, Pak. It is happen here. I think it is happen in your organization. It is happen everywhere, Pak. Because we compete with other function, right? Yeah. So like when I believe that the IT function, the digitalization, continuous monitoring, use of technology is important. I have to compete with operation, Pak. That's why until today I only have 20, Pak. 20 IT auditor, Pak. And they're using also data analytics, continuous auditing, everything, Pak. Yeah. But that's challenge. That's challenge. That's why we have to convey this message, Pak. I have to convey this message to me myself, to my colleague, to my team. Why this function exists, Pak? And we have to struggle very hard to make this function relevant. Yeah, Pak. It's very difficult, Pak. But based on my experience with management, Pak, if we truly and really trying to make it happen, they show the progress. They show that for 400 people it's not easy to brainwash or to align the principle, to align the philosophy. but we are getting there, Pak. And I believe some of the people from operation, some of the best people in operation is coming to internal audit, Pak. Because they believe, Pak, that a good organization, it should be supported by an excellent people in the first line, has to be reviewed, has to be partnered by people in the second line, has to be evaluated and also partnered by the third line. But that's the structure of a good organization. But thank you, Pak.
Okay, thank you very much for our colleague from Singapore Power. We still have 4 minutes for the last question, maybe.
Okay, for the last question, I will ask my colleague to answer, Pak.
Okay.
Please. If it's not today, you know that yesterday was very good session. We have a very good dinner lah, ya. Have a good talk, and I believe that this today event will strengthen our relationship. We'll communicate further, and will communicate further, Pak. Yeah, with all these colleagues here to strengthen our relationship, to strengthen our cooperation, to share the pain, and also to communicate again, Pak. Yeah. Okay. I think enough. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, due to limited time, we will end the question and answer session for this panel. Thank you very much to Mr. Sulistyo Biantoro for the invaluable insight, and to the audience for your active participation. We have learned all about transformation, innovation, idea, and experiences that have been implemented in PLN. Well, see you next time. On behalf of moderator, I would like to thank you and apologize for any shortcoming. Next, return to our MC, Mrs. Vidya and Mr. Taufik. Good morning to all of us, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bapak Sulistyo Biantoro, for sharing your insightful experience. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the next agenda, let's have a coffee break that has already provided on your table, and we will back again at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Tapi ini gelasnya belum.
Gelasnya udah.
Ya, ini.
Oh, udah.
Balik.
Oh, gimana?
Ini sini kan. Ini udah benar. Ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to remind you again that we will start at 10 a.m. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
We will continue this event for the third panel. So please kindly be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on the third panel discussion session. The topic of discussion is AI and data analytics for audit. Now, I would like to invite our moderator, Bapak Musa Pauce Adris Mailoor, to the stage. Bapak Musa, currently the Manager of Data Analytics and Continuous Audit at PT PLN Persero, brings over 13 years of experience in internal auditing. He holds bachelor degree in information technology. Bapak Musa, the stage is yours.
Magadang umaga. Sorry. Once again. Is this right? Magadang umaga. Ini selamat pagi, Pak Sulis. Oke. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third panel, the final session of the HAPUA Audit Summit 2024. On this session, as Pak Sulis said earlier, this is a hard, difficult topic, but I think we can bring this topic enjoyable, Pak. Okay. We will discuss about artificial intelligence and data analytics for audit. Okay. My name is Musa Mailoor, and I'm excited to be your moderator today. Ladies and gentlemen, AI or artificial intelligence is something we encounter every day, often without even being aware of it. Yeah. I think we agree for this last 2 years. The most anticipated is about generative AI. Yeah. In fact, my moderator script is generated by ChatGPT. Okay. Generative AI, a technology capable of creating almost any form of media we know. Let's say speech, text, video. But is it AI is about generative AI? I don't think so. Yeah. So how does AI impact on our editing world? I'm doing some small research. According to the 2024 Pulse Check report by IIA, over 72% of auditor internal function have already integrated AI technology. I think one of them is Meralco, the panelist for our today's session. Furthermore, the IA reports that 61% of organizations are using AI to detect anomalies, allowing auditor to focus on area with the greatest potential for risk and fraud. This means that many companies are using AI today And ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome 4 esteemed panelists from Manila Electric Company, Meralco, to the stage. But for the first one, I would like to invite Mrs. Melanie to the stage. So, Pak Sulis, we have something different right now from the last day. I think we will get fun, right? So, for the first one, I wanted to have Mrs. Melanie to take the stage, not me.
Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum. Okay, so we will be discussing a lot of things for this morning. And I just want to share with you that please bear with us because we have about 15 minutes for each. And I hope we can do justice in our presentation. Now, but before we start, I would like to invite everyone to participate in a Menti activity. It's going to be a very quick activity. You can scan the QR code by joining our activity. So you go to Menti or scan it, the QR code. And the QR code is 87829432. Okay, so can you please respond to the question?
Can I participate too?
So we hope we get a lot of responses. It's going to be a cloud word. Can we flash the results? Yeah? Can we add more? Okay, we've got 25 responses. Okay, if you look at this, our question is, what comes to mind when you hear the word sustainability? And majority of you would answer about climate change, green, ESG. Of course, there was a discussion about IFRS standards. Majority are focused on ESG, okay? Low carbon. Now let us give you a different twist about sustainability as we discuss a different realm that is connected to sustainability. So we'll show first the video of Meralco to share with you what is about sustainability in terms of Meralco's point of view.
Meralco takes its responsibility seriously in leading the transition to cleaner energy.
Through our wholly owned subsidiary, MGen cultivated the soil and oversaw what has now fully grown as Bulacan Sol.
A 72-hectare solar farm that stands at the forefront of the nation's shift to sustainable energy. Tucked between the majestic Mount Araya and the scenic Sierra Madre Mountains, Bulacan Sol harnesses energy from the sun.
Its vast expanse of solar panels contributes to powering the Luzon grid with an additional 55 megawatts of generating capacity, an inexhaustible, virtually pollution-free power source. 55 megawatts of power? Let's quantify that.
To put things into perspective, it takes 3 to 6 megawatts to light up hospitals, factories, and other high-energy facilities. For residential customers, It powers close to 42,300 homes. 55 megawatts of power is mind-blowing. But 55 megawatts of clean energy is truly transformative. It is both life-changing and life-giving.
It is a humble yet significant step in achieving Meralco's commitment to shift towards renewable sources of energy.
By 2030, MGen aims to build a renewable energy portfolio of 1,500 megawatts. Switching on Bulacan Sol powers up our momentum. And we're not stopping at solar.
Wind energy and geothermal energy are part of that mix. By 2050, we aim to be coal-free.
We will definitely get there. Bulacan Sol is the first of many projects lighting the way towards a cleaner and greener future, so that in our lifetime, we may realize better lives for all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Melanie, for the introduction. Okay, have a seat, please. Okay, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Melanie Otaizia. She is the Senior Vice President and Chief Audit Executive at Meralco. Okay, with over 30 years of experience in audit and governance. Melanie has held various leadership roles, including Director of Corporate Governance and Internal Audit at Rajawali Corpora in Indonesia. Welcome back, Indonesia, Ms. Melanie. She has received several notable awards. This is an interesting one, such as the William S. Smith Award for the CIA. If I'm not mistaken, ladies and gentlemen, William S. Smith is the award given to the candidate with the highest score on the CIA exam. Give you applause. This is the difficult one, CIA. The other certificate, let's say CCSA, CRMA, KISA, oh there are so many. Right. Mrs. Melanie, educational background include BS in accountancy and MBA from the University of Santo Thomas, both of them magna cum laude and summa cum laude. Melanie also recognized for her leadership in the audit community as a member of several professional organizations, including the Institute of International Auditor. So, without further ado, I give the stage to Mrs. Melanie to represent the topic today. Okay, right? It is about integrating frameworks, tools, and AI, building in a resilient cybersecurity environment. The stage is yours. Please give a big applause to Mrs. Melanie.
Thank you, Mas Masu. But please ignore that very boring introduction. Let me introduce myself. I am Admiral Melanie Tolentino Oteiza. I'm part of the Maverick-driven leaders of Meralco. So, can you please play the video?
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so you can call me MCO, aka Storm. Okay, so let's discuss about our topic. It is about looking into integrating the frameworks of AI and cybersecurity environment. So we know for a fact that Meralco's initiatives, as you have seen earlier, there are a lot of move for renewable energy. But nonetheless, if you look about technology and innovation, that exemplifies our commitment to sustainability. That's why I'm asking questions earlier, what comes to mind with respect to sustainability. That also refers to technology and innovation. Now, through these smart grid technologies that we have seen earlier, the renewable energy, our efficiency programs, and support for ILP, Meralco is actively contributing to the reduction of carbon emissions and promotion of sustainable energy practices. These initiatives are integral to Meralco's vision of providing reliable, affordable, and environmentally responsible energy to our customers. But then again, you might ask, why do we need to integrate that? Because a lot of technology are subject to prone of vulnerabilities. The global cybersecurity threat landscape is constantly evolving, and as our technology advances, vulnerabilities are discovered. You know a lot of cyber attacks, right? What are those? Ransomware, phishing, BEC or business email compromise. These are the ones shaping the current environment globally. So as internal auditors, we need to stay ahead of that curve and be able to provide a proactive approach in helping our senior management. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So I'll be discussing about the framework that Meralco Group IA has been using for reviewing cybersecurity, the tools that we're covering and using together with Cybersecurity Group, the layered approach on how we look at cybersecurity, and the data analytics and AI implementation of Meralco. So here we have 4 different frameworks that we are using whenever we audit cybersecurity. The first one is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. It has been developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology that helps organizations like Meralco to reduce cybersecurity risk. So what does it contains? It has a core, like our IA standards, it has a core framework. It has an implementation tiers in terms of the maturity level of the organization, and at the same time, the profiles. The profiles talk about the cybersecurity activities that are being conducted and the outcomes of that cybersecurity performance. Second is the ISO, or the International Organization for Standardization, and the International Electrotechnical Commission of 27001. So these outlines the different level of controls whenever we need to audit an ISMS, or an Information System Management System. Okay? Information Security Management System. So here we talk about the triple letters we call CIA. What is CIA? It's not that certified internal auditor, but it's about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, the next framework is about COVID 2019. For those that are CISA here, these are the ones being used by our IT auditors that provides a holistic approach on how we audit IT governance, at the same time aligning this with how they operate with various levels of 5 domains, okay? And the last one is about CIS controls. These are the ones being really used by our cybersecurity group. They are the ones taken and developed by the Center for Internet Security that provides a framework for 18 overarching control areas. Okay, next slide, please. Now, whenever we do audit in Meralco, the recent audit that we have done for cybersecurity is looking at the tools. So we focus on actually various domains. There are 7 of them, where we look at 3 levels, which is people, process, and technology controls. So we look into strengthening the cybersecurity of Meralco, and IA, of course, with Captain Lester Garing here, he's the one responsible for looking at these areas. Now, let me run through, next slide, the identity and access management. I believe majority of us would review access, correct? So in IAM, it is a very important component of cybersecurity in the sense that this really look into how we're authorizing access within our organization, and that has to be using effective authentication and authorization controls. Now, you might ask, what are the different tools being used by Meralco? We have actually the Microsoft AD, the Beyond Trust PAM, or the Privileged Access Management, and the Okta's IAM tool. Majority of these tools, if you look at it, when we evaluated these tools, they include strong password rules, they utilize the multi-factor authentication, and the performance of complementing the second and third line defense within the organization. But of course, not everything is sweet. There would always be challenges in the operations. Integrating and managing this is a very complex challenge because there are different technologies, and how the compatibility or interoperability will work would be a very important consideration. Second is the cost. Not all organizations would be able to, purchase this, especially those that are new startup or SMEs. And lastly, this will never be effective if these are not complemented by user reviews and admin monitoring. So for Meralco, when we did the audit, we have highlighted to the chairman of the board, members of the audit committee, that there is a need for timely deactivation of the access. Because if not, it will be really a possible area of vulnerability if any unauthorized personnel will be able to access any of the layers of the defense. And access sharing is a no-no. We're not supposed to be sharing access, not even to your internal people, but even to third parties or vendors. Next slide, please. On the vulnerability management side, we review whether attackers can exploit our different platforms and systems. But of course, it is very difficult to really proactively identify, especially if the tools are not calibrated timely, and at the same time, if our people are not equipped to do the scanning per se. So for Meralco, and even IA has been supporting the cybersecurity group, we have been using Nessus Professional, Burp Suite, and Tenable Security Center as part of our VMS whenever we do reviews. Now, on top of these tools, we need to always ensure, as part of the recommendation of IA to IT and OT, is the regular vulnerability scanning complemented by effective patch management. These two has to go in tango. You can never go scan, but if there's no patch, then there's nothing that you can add on in terms of control. Thirdly, is an incident management plan. There must be a response plan to address any possible layers of attack. So these three are very important: vulnerability, patch management, and incident planning. We know the zero-day attacks will always be a challenge, and having a good incident plan can never be overstated. There is also a skill gap right now in the market for operators that is capable of doing a VAPT, correct? Majority of us are not even equipped to do that. I was even challenged by the chairman of the board, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan. Melanie, I just don't want talking. I want action. I want to know if you can attack as an ethical hacker and see what are the vulnerabilities of the Meralco group. So this includes, guys, purchasing an enterprise-grade level of tool. You can never buy an isolated tool, put it in your laptop, and run it. So this has to be adequately able to cover the operational requirements of the group to be able to promptly identify the vulnerabilities. Now, on the cloud security, third slide, please. Cloud security has been a common ground right now for organizations. We are now in a cloud computing environment. But what resides in the cloud environment are data, applications, and your infra. So just imagine that we need to put up robust security measures, and that becomes critically very important. Now, the responsibility might lie within the organization if it's an IaaS, or with the cloud provider if it's an SaaS. Now, what are the common tools that we have been using are the endpoint security or antivirus by Trend Micro, the Aquas Cloud Security, and the Akamai's Web Application Firewall, or what we call WAF. To ensure that this is being optimized, it is very important that we need to know what does the vendor or provider can give you. There could be regular security assessments, but there could be, hidden costs, right? So data breach is also one of the important issue here. Even though you have your vendor, they can also be subjected to data breach, correct? And at the same time, you need to have a reputable cloud service provider. Who are these people? Amazon Web Service or the Microsoft Azure, they will release certification of control to ensure data security. But again, there could be some vendors who can lock you in and limit your organization. Of course, you cannot go here and there. There could be a contract negotiation and a high switching cost. If you switch to another vendor, this is your cost. And a lot of issues about misconfigurations. If they misconfigure your tool, definitely there would be unintended data compromise. And critical areas that we have been setting forward to the committee and the board is who is the responsible in terms of controls for cloud security. As I did mention to you, majority of that would definitely be the members within the organization. And hence, we need to adequately protect our organization. Next slide, please. On SecOp and threat intelligence, we normally do this to defend our infrastructure from security threats. But this has to go daily analyzing incidents and threats. Very difficult to understand the tactics, techniques of our perpetrators or threat actors and how the organization can respond effectively. There's a plethora of tools for SecOps and threat intel in the market. But one of the most important that we're using in Meralco is what we call the NGSIM, or the Next Generation Security Incident and Events Management. It's being provided by Rapid7. So far, we have seen this as the best tool to be able to analyze and correlate the logs together with the Group IB's intelligence platform, so they can complement together. But again, these tools are good, but if you don't fine-tune them, then definitely you'll not be able to identify threats. Fine-tuning means you should be able to proactively identify common vulnerabilities of exposure, what we call CVEs. Because if that tool is not able to capture that, then you're missing it. You don't hit it, okay? So again, it is also important that if you have these tools, there should be a 24/7 operations. Otherwise, we stop from there. We don't get the reports and alarms on a very timely basis. But mind you, what's the weakest link? It is the people. If we don't have the adequate trainings for cybersecurity, and of course our SecOps and threat intel team will never be effective. So integration, again, is another issue for SecOps because we need to have that effective or adequate load. Just imagine you're putting a lot of traffic, and if that load is not enough, what happens? It crashes, correct? So we need to have that application service running without causing any downtime. And if that happens, the data overload, of course, your system analysis will be prolonged. Now, this has to be done to be able to ensure as well that we don't end up having false positives or false negatives. Is that correct? Because it is not simple as you correlate, I get a result, it's positive, we have a malicious attack. But it might not be the correct stature or status. So areas of focus for management is that they need to adopt a preventive control. It is not something that we always go at the back end and say, we detected this. Proactive in terms of prevention, particularly on user awareness and training of personnel. Now on the next slide for EPP, or what we call the endpoint protection, it is safeguarding our endpoints. What are these? Desktops, laptops, mobile devices, tablets. Can you imagine that these endpoints are the greatest source of attack? Now, these are often a point of entry for malware. Because if you log in for Wi-Fi, it's free. You don't know that there are threat actors already looking into your laptop or your tablets. So that cyber threat doesn't stop. So what we need to do is, of course, in the organization, IT and the OT team should have this EPP controls, like antivirus. Would you believe antivirus is very critical? The one provided by McAfee or the Microsoft Defender. For the mobile device, it has to be with the VMware's AirWatch tool. That would be definitely an important tool to detect any possible attacks. Now again, it is critical that this antivirus should be updated Because if it's not, you will definitely be exploited. Now, it's very important that these users are aware that they cannot just simply go accessing any unsafe connections. Now, it is very important as well for management to have the IT assets inventoried. Because if not all of us knows what are the assets of Meralco or your organization, then you will never be able to monitor them. And if it's not monitored, that will be subjected to further attacks. Now, on the network side, or the OT, it is important to protect the data specifically for the CIA, or the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. Remember, resiliency is the key. As we travel, the data travel across the network, it is very important that nobody would be able to access them at any point as they transverse to the different applications and platforms. Once they are being intruded, definitely any components, connections, or configurations will definitely be attacked. So what do we do as part of IAs to check whether the network is properly segmented? Okay? That will definitely help us if we segment the network and there are components. If we get to find them, stop them from there, and they will never be able to move forward. Again, the issues for this one is because of the scalability. A lot of traffic coming in, very difficult to be logically segmenting, and at the same time, there are really a lot of shortage in technical people skills, particularly for network security and operations. Okay? On the next slide, for data security, it is important that we are only allowing our employees based on the role-based access, and this is to ensure that we're not able to provide them any access to data that are very critical or sensitive. Common tools that we use in Meralco is the Windows BitBlocker, so they're able to encrypt the data which we stored on the endpoints. And the Blancos tool is also used. For example, we lost our laptops, our endpoints. We can safely erase all the data on the hard drives, ensuring that the attacker can no longer recover any information. Okay? On the next slide, I'm going to share with you, this is what we call the defense in depth. When internal audit will have to audit, we have to look into these different layers and audit them in terms of level of controls. And if you look at those, the one with the exclamation marks, these are the red flags that internal audit will have to look into in terms of the possible vulnerabilities or attacks. And we correlate them with the tools. Okay? Next slide. This is what we call the arsenal. It is our program for cybersecurity within Meralco. Of course, our author for this is our cybersecurity group, and we have a very good partnership with cybersecurity. So this arsenal group provides the different areas on an end-to-end point basis where we need to devote our time and resources. So we do a complementing with cybersecurity. We do our shadowing in terms of what we can do to be able to protect the organization. Just imagine, we have very limited people. Cybersecurity is being confronted with skills gaps and count of resources. So internal audit has to complement. And just imagine the pressure that we need to put into our staff to be able to be equipped to do this job. Okay? Now on the next slide, I just want to share with you the transformation framework of Meralco. So we have a lot of digital transformation. It is driven definitely by our APAC pressures, and at the same time, it has to be driven by our technology. So akin to these pressures, we have made a bold move to digitally transform our operation and our service approach. So looking at the real cyber attacks, we know for a fact we have legacy systems, aging systems. They are vulnerable, correct? And they may no longer be fit for the demands of the service. Our people's skills need also to be upgraded. So the demand of our customers vis-a-vis the amplification of the new regulatory challenges, put us in a very difficult situation. Even they say Meralco is a natural monopoly, you can never rely on that now because they have various alternatives of getting energy, correct? We have our retail electricity services, or what they call RES. Now, all of this we need to transform. If you look at the next slide, the internal audit needs to be AI-powered. So we're converging a lot of AI in terms of our plan with respect from the, when we start risk assessment down to the reporting and communication. In risk assessment, we would like to see the data analytics putting up the emerging risk and emerging threats, putting up patterns and relationship based on the information, and using the learnings of that to predict what can go wrong or the potential business disruptions, because you don't know the black swans, correct? Now for planning, we're looking at analyzing our scope and durations based on capabilities, workload, and capacities. So we will be using AI to provide us in resource allocation and task management. It is available in some of the audit management system, but bet you there would be always a room for AI to support, particularly on the technical requirements. Now for control testing, we want to cover more, 100%, and to get more accurate insights. So we will be using AI as part of our repetitive control testing. This will be driven by data analytics and scripts. This will have to prepare data in terms of pattern recognition and contextual relationship empowered by NLP techniques, or the natural language programs. For continuous monitoring, we're looking at MindBridge AI Auditor to do auditing real-time transactions. And we intend to do this to our clients to provide them early warnings or red flags. Okay? And for reporting and communication, using also NLP, we would like to generate clear and concise audit reports given sentiments coming from the clients. In client survey, they have a lot of sentiments. And we would like that NLP to summarize those sentiments, the way we word our reports, and hopefully with that, we will be able to improve the way we communicate. Okay, and the next slide is about our foundational build. We are cognizant of the path that we would want to be embarking. But of course, there are 4 things that we need to ensure: data quality, accessibility, technology, talent and skills, and change management. These 4 are very important to be able to progress to the next step. If we don't have each one of them, we will never be successful. Okay? So I think that summarizes my presentation, and I hope I was able to share. Call sign MTO is signing off, but I would want to share with you that Meralco has been putting up a maverick-driven leadership. Maverick in the sense that we challenge the status quo, we innovate, we ensure that we are determined, and we need to see the completion all the projects that we will be putting up in the pipeline. So versatility is important. We need to tell our story, but according to MVP, it's not just talking, it's about action. Now, moving to the next, we will be presenting our next speaker. Oh, these are my team. Let's give a round of applause to my team. We're doing a very good job in Meralco. Okay, so let me introduce to you Mr. Dave Philip Cruz. Probably you introduce him first, and then I'll tell him his code.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Melanie, aka Mrs. Storm.
AKA Storm.
Okay, I would like to invite the second panelist. Give him a big applause, Mr. Dave Philip D. Cruz. Okay, I want to give some brief introduction for Mr. Dave. With 12 years of experience, Dave holds 3 key certifications: Certified Public Accountant, Certified Internal Auditor, and Certification in Risk Management Assurance. He graduated cum laude with a BS Accountancy from the University of Santo Tomas. And Dave's previous roles include Audit Officer for Share Service at Meralco and Senior Associate at Sisip Gors Velayo and Company. Nowadays, Dave is the Head of Shared Services Audit at Meralco. Okay, the stage is yours.
So much, Mas. Just want to share with you that let's give a round of applause to Dave. He was recently promoted to become one of the heads for Meralco. Yeah. So forget about his cum laude. Let's see who he is by call symbol. Thank you.
In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Captain Flash. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. I am Dave Philip Cruz, and I'm from the Manila Electric Company from the Philippines. And my topic for today is about the role of internal audit on the data integrity. Next slide, please. So I will first discuss about what is data integrity, an overview of our systems, which data integrity is an integral part of, our audit approach, and the controls that should be taken into consideration to ensure the integrity of our data. Next slide, please. So what is data integrity? So first, let us define it. According to the data management body of knowledge, it refers to ideas associated with completeness, accuracy, and consistency. It is a state of being whole, protected from improper alteration, deletion, or addition. On the other hand, Deloitte defines data integrity as the extent to which all data are complete, consistent, and accurate throughout the data life cycle. Data here includes all original records and true copies, including source data, metadata, and all subsequent transformations and reports of this data. Next slide, please. So why is data integrity important in Meralco? In the performance of our services, we use different systems which are interrelated and dependent from each other. An erroneous data in one of the systems could lead to a domino effect with the other systems. Let me just provide a brief overview of our systems. First is our customer management system, which stores the transaction records of Meralco's customers. It integrates the core process of Meralco, such as service application, meter reading, contracting, billing, payments, and collection. Next is our customer experience engine, which is a platform developed as part of the customer experience transformation program of Meralco. It aims to automate and streamline the business processes across the customer journey, which includes the application, payment, request for repair, and customer feedback or inquiries processes. Another system used by Meralco is the Enterprise Geographical Information System, which serves as a central repository of our geospatial data related to distribution networks. This centralized approach streamlines data management processes and eliminates the risk of data silos. Then, the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, or SCADA, is the main system that supports the operations of Meralco. It is a two-way system which is responsible for the real-time monitoring of our distribution networks. It allows us to perform data analytics, in diagnostics, and to control field devices to address operational issues. Also, as part of our Smart Grid program, the prepaid electricity management system is used for customers who opted to switch to a prepaid arrangement. This allows for the monitoring of consumption and monthly true-up of or the adjustment of their bills. In support for the further digitalization of our distribution facilities, Meralco uses a meter data management system, which allows the remote reading and recording of consumptions from our smart meters. On the other hand, the Enterprise Asset Management System is the work and asset management system used by Meralco to monitor the initiation, planning, scheduling, execution, and completion of our work orders. Meralco also uses the Advanced Distribution Management System, which provides information on outages. Lastly, for our financial management system, we use the SAP. This integrates all of the information from the other system and records their financial impact to manage the income, expenses, and liabilities incurred by Meralco. Next slide, please. So in our audit of our engagements, we focus on 5 key aspects of data integrity, mainly completeness, accuracy, consistency, validity, and quality. Next, first is data completeness. This is about the assessment whether all required data is present. Completeness can be measured at the dataset, record, or column level. Some key questions that we ask regarding completeness is whether the dataset contains all the records expected and whether records are populated correctly. Data analytics can help identify missing values or incomplete records that might indicate issues. Next is the data accuracy. So it is the analysis of data to ensure that it is correct and free from errors. This involves comparing data with source documents and verifying consistency. Next is the data consistency. This is to ensure that data is uniform across different systems and reports, and analytics can detect discrepancies between different datasets or systems. Consistency can also refer to ensuring that data values are consistently represented within a dataset and between datasets and consistently associated across datasets. Fourth is the data validity, which refers to whether data values are consistent with a defined domain of values. A domain of values may be defined as a set of valid values, a range of values, or value that can be determined via rules. And lastly is data quality. Quality pertains to the assessment whether data collected and used is accurate and consistent across various systems. So internal auditors assess data integrity by reviewing processes, controls, and systems that manage data to identify potential risks and ensure that data is accurate and secure. Next slide, please. So how can internal audit contribute to ensuring the data quality of our company? So we can perform some of these activities. Next slide, please. First is the assessment of controls. Internal auditors evaluate the effectiveness of controls designed to protect data integrity. This includes reviewing policies, procedures, and systems that safeguard against data breaches, corruption, and unauthorized access. Next slide, please. Second is the testing and validation. Auditors perform tests to validate that data is accurate, complete, and reliable. We check for discrepancies, errors, and inconsistencies in the data processing and reporting systems. Auditors can either perform testing of samples or employ data analytics to perform a 100 testing of all information. Techniques such as field-level validation and record count check can be made to determine data accuracy and consistency. Next slide, please. Next, we move on to the compliance checks, which involve ensuring that the organization adheres to relevant laws, regulations, standards, and best practices. We start by identifying applicable regulations and understanding their requirements, after which the organization's data management policies are assessed to ensure alignment with regulatory requirements. Next slide, please. Then we have the risk management, which is another crucial aspect of auditing data integrity. It involves evaluating how well the organization identifies, assesses, mitigates, and monitors risk to data integrity. This helps in the development of strategies to mitigate those risks and improve data protection measures. IA could start by reviewing the organization's risk management policies and procedures related to data integrity. Further, IA could also review the methods used to assess data integrity risk, such as qualitative and quantitative risk. And lastly, as part of our good governance, IA could also evaluate if there are appropriate processes for the continuous monitoring and the reporting of data integrity risk. Lastly, data quality could also be done to determine that controls and practices are in place to ensure that the data collected and used is of high quality, accurate, and consistent across various systems. I could do this by assessing the data collection and entry controls, which involves the assessment of validation rules and controls to ensure data accuracy at the point of entry. Next is the evaluation of data, previous slide. Next is the evaluation of the data processing controls, which involves ensuring that data remains accurate, complete, consistent, and reliable as it undergoes various stages of processing and transformation. So on the next slide, here is a sample of our data analytics to verify that the data integrity of our systems. wherein the team compared the transactions between SAP and CMS. For this, the team used Power BI for our data analytics to evaluate around 12 million transactions to ensure the data consistency and quality between the said two systems. On the other hand, on the next slide, we also use data analytics to check the data mapping of our transactions. Our process owners have predefined criteria which are expected values when the transactions are executed. We check data consistency to determine whether data conforms to the defined data mapping. On the next slide. So here are some of the controls over data integrity that we could take into consideration during our audit. First, controls that should be in place pertain to data accuracy. This includes the following. First is the data comparison, wherein data from the source and destination should be matched to ensure that correct information are recorded. Also, under accuracy check is the capability to generate reconciliation reports. This could facilitate identification of discrepancies to ensure that they are resolved. Next are the completeness checks, which includes the following. First is the field level completeness check, which ensures that no fields that should have values are left null or empty. Next way to check completeness is the record counts check. This control compares the number of records before and after the transfer to ensure all records have been captured. The next slide. The third control's classification are related to the data interfacing checks. This includes the data mapping to ensure that data fields in the source database match the fields in the target application. Next is the data transformation, wherein systems are checked to determine whether there are embedded controls to ensure that data are converted into the required format for the target application. The data validation, on the other hand, is done to check the accuracy and quality of data before and after it is transferred. And lastly, error handling is assessed to determine if there are implemented procedures to handle data transfer errors, ensuring data consistency and reliability. Next slide, please. Next are the controls related to the data integrity check or the data quality check. First is the referential integrity. This is the checking of key relationships between parent and child tables. The consistency between data objects via a reference key contained in both objects is checked for this. Next is the domain integrity. We check under this whether data in a column falls within the allowed set of values. And lastly is the hashing or an algorithm that creates unique identifiers for records. These identifiers are controls to ensure that data remain unchanged after transfer. And lastly, as auditors, our systems should have audit and logging functions, and the system should have an audit trail capabilities to maintain a record of changes made during the transfer process. Logs should also be present to record data transfer activities to trace and troubleshoot any issues. So in conclusion, data integrity is the foundation to ensure the reliability, efficiency, and security of interrelated systems, which are essential to provide accurate decision-making, operational efficiency, compliance, and customer trust, all of which are critical for the survival of our business. So that concludes my presentation for today.
Thank you, Mr. Dave, aka Mr. Flash. Okay.
Please introduce the next speaker.
Okay, I would like to invite the third panelist, Mr. Wendell C. Calvendra. Give a big applause. Okay, Mr. Wendell Calvendra, the head of customer retail services at Meralco with 12 years of professional experience. Wendell is a certified public accountant, holds a bachelor degree in accountancy from Southern Luzon State University, and completed the management development program at the ASEAN Institute of Management. Okay, the stage is yours.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Mr. Wendell Calvendra, aka Voltage, or with the call sign WCC.
Three, two, one.
Thank you, Captain Flash. Good morning, everyone. Today, I will be discussing the Interruptible Load Program of Meralco, commonly known as ILP. So, next slide, please. So, my presentation will cover about ILP, the implementation and activation highlights, audit focus areas, and harnessing data analytics for ILP review, and of course, our key takeaways for the discussion. Next slide, please. So, what is ILP? So, ILP is a demand response program, and for Meralco, this is a risk mitigation strategy of Meralco designed to address imminent power shortage and augment the limited power supply of any grid in the country. It aims to minimize the occurrence of manual load dropping or rotational brownouts caused by power supply shortages. So, what's in the program? So it offers incentives to businesses that agree to reduce or interrupt their electricity use when there is a power shortage in the grid. The ILP was initially developed by utility companies to address the challenges of managing peak demand on the power grid. In most regions in the Philippines, demand for electricity peaks during summer months, particularly during the month of March to June. During these peak periods, the grid can become overloaded, leading to blackouts or brownouts. To manage peak demand, utility companies offer incentives to businesses to agree to participate in the ILP. Incentives for businesses to participate in the ILP includes the compensation on the deloaded consumption. These incentives serve to offset any cost or losses that businesses may incur by reducing their energy use. In April 2014, the Philippine Energy Regulatory Commission expanded the coverage of ILP, which was initially implemented in Visayas and Mindanao. The Manila Electric Company has been authorized to carry out the program for its captive customers. Furthermore, Commission allowed contestable customers, DCC or directly connected customers, PESA customers, and economic utility enterprise to participate in 2015. Next slide, please. So both internal and external scanning are essential components in the audit process. And these will provide a comprehensive assessment of the organization's environment, identify potential risks and opportunities, and support strategic planning and decision-making processes. Looking at the Philippine system peak demand data for 2020 to 2024, as reported in the Department of Energy Power Development Plan, it provides insights into electricity consumption trends and requirements across the country. The Philippine system peak demand is a critical aspect of energy management that requires continuous monitoring and strategic planning. By understanding peak demand trends and implementing effective measures, we can ensure a stable and reliable power supply to support the country's economic growth and development. Also, the peak demand is an important factor in planning the power supply infrastructure to ensure reliable electricity availability. Next slide, please. So as of April 2024, Meralco has 243 participating customers, 40 are coming from captive ILP participating customers, and the remaining 200 are contestable ILP participating customers, with potential deloading capacity of 200 megawatt. The graph summarizes the 3-year ILP implementation and activation of our participating customers from 2021 to 2024, with 8.2 million estimated number of households spared from manual load dropping, vis-a-vis 1.7 million affected residential customers. Meralco's goal is to further strengthen and improve the ILP program, urging businesses to join ILP to ensure the continuous supply of electricity in the franchise area of Meralco when the Luzon grid was placed on red alert. We recognize the values of our partnership with ILP participants, which really help Meralco in developing and delivering continuous, sustainable, and reliable electricity service, consistent with our commitment to keep the lights on for our customers. Next slide, please. So let's dive deeper into how internal audit can add value to the ILP program of Meralco. In terms of the audit focus areas, we reviewed 6 key focus areas in the ILP program of Meralco: the governance structure, the ILP enrollment, database and repository, notification and activation, meter reading and settlement, and lastly, the concern management of our customers. Next slide, please. In terms of governance structure, it is important to highlight the importance of having the baseline controls, the policies, protocols, guidelines and procedures, and work procedures manuals. It serves as a clear outline of processes, assisting in the identification of process owners and work procedures, information systems involved, and the necessary documentation required to run the program effectively and efficiently and economically. The delineation of roles and responsibilities and accountabilities is fundamental for enhancing efficiency, accountability, communication, and decision-making, and the overall ILP program performance. In terms of process automation, it is crucial for enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of the ILP. It streamlines operations, improves data management, reduces costs, enhances customer experience, and ensures scalability and reliability. By automating key processes, the ILP can operate more effectively, respond swiftly to changes, and continuously improve to meet the evolving needs of the grid and its participants. One of the objectives of the amended ILP rules is to address the imminent power shortage and augment the limited power supply of the grid. Implementing surveys or feedback mechanism to gather inputs of ILP participating customer may drive process improvements and make necessary adjustment to enhance the customer experience and activation success rate for ILP. Complying with ILP regulatory requirements is essential for legal, operational, financial, and reputational reasons. It ensures the program's integrity, reliability, and effectiveness while protecting stakeholders and promoting sustainable practices. Compliance not only avoids regulatory penalties but also builds trust, enhances efficiency, and contributes to the overall success of the ILP. In terms of ILP enrollment, existing participating customer must be covered by ILP contract or tripartite agreement, as contracts plays a crucial role in facilitating business transactions. It serves as legally binding evidence that captures the agreed upon terms and conditions of the services or agreements between the parties involved. Establishing a written formal procedure will help to standardize the process and will provide clear guidelines. Lastly, turnaround time for processing and completing ILP contracts and agreement is a vital metric that impacts operational efficiency and overall program performance. In today's fast-paced business environment, turnaround time is a crucial metric that can significantly impact an organization's success. Time is of the essence when it comes to ILP program. Next slide, please. In terms of ILP database and repository, a centralized repository allows business to archive the contracts for business continuity management and record management purposes. Database facilitates efficient communication and coordination between the departments and organizations involved. This is an integral component for monitoring and overseeing customer information, contract statuses, and activation processes. Regular data reconciliation and review facilitates efficient program planning, scheduling, and execution. Regular updates and notification are essential for effective program coordination, as it entails the line management to easily communicate changes, updates, and event notification to other stakeholders. In terms of the notification and activation, prioritization matrix on customer notification enables effective resource allocation, timely responses, and improved decision-making, all of which contribute to a better overall customer service and ILP program success. Process automation of customer notification ensures that customers receive notifications promptly, which is crucial for keeping them informed and engaged. Again, time is of the essence when it comes to the ILP program. Feedback mechanisms are essential for gathering inputs for ILP participating customer as they contribute to the program's effectiveness, customer satisfaction, and continuous improvement. Next slide, please. In terms of meter reading and settlement, accurate meter reading ensure that participants are correctly compensated for their participation in the ILP. that contributes to a positive overall experience, encouraging continued participation in the ILP. Proper, accurate computation of ILP compensation help prevent disputes between utility providers and participants over compensation amounts, fostering a positive relationship and preventing overpayments or underpayments. Monitoring system to track ILP compensation help ensure that compensation payments are released to participants on time, avoiding delays, and to comply with regulatory requirements, reducing the risk of non-compliance. Timely validation of the computed deloaded compensation. Validating compensation calculations on time allows for smoother and more efficient processing of payments, reducing administrative delays. In terms of the concern management, proper recording of ILP-related concerns from various channels helps in tracking historical issues and responses, which can be useful for understanding recurring problems and trends. Concern monitoring, resolution, and provision of feedback quickly helps minimize the impact of participants and the overall success of the ILP. Next slide, please. Harnessing data analytics in ILP review. So data analytics helps identify discrepancies and errors in compensation calculations, load reduction reports, and other critical data, ensuring accuracy and integrity. It provides tools for verifying the accuracy of reported data and compliance with program rules and regulatory requirements. Data analytics tools streamline the audit process by quickly identifying areas of concern, automating data analysis, and generating comprehensive reports. Analytics provides a transparent view of the program operations and compensation, supporting accountability and trust among stakeholders. Detailed data analytics reports serve as documented evidence for audit trails, demonstrating programs' adherence to policies and procedures. Analytics helps identify potential risks and vulnerabilities in the program, allowing for timely mitigation and preventive measures. Audit findings and data analysis create a feedback loop that drives continuous improvement in the program processes and performance. And for the key takeaways of the discussion, next slide, please. So this is the sample data analytics performed by IA in terms of the ILP implementation for Meralco. So we utilize Power BI, but we have different data analytics tools in Meralco currently utilized by our auditors. We have ACL, Power BI, and I think our data analytics team have different tools also currently employed in data analytics. Next slide, please. As for the key takeaways, effectiveness of demand reduction, the ILP successfully reduces energy consumption during peak demand periods, mitigating the risk of grid overloads and blackouts. Incentives for participation, participants benefit from financial incentives which encourage more businesses to enroll in the program and contribute to grid stability. In terms of regulatory compliance, ILP adheres to regulations set by our Energy Regulatory Commission, ensuring legal compliance and fostering trust among stakeholders. Participant engagement, continuous engagement and communication with participants are crucial for the program's success, ensuring they are well-informed and motivated to comply during activation periods. Operational efficiency, streamlined processes for activating ILP, and managing participant load reductions have been established, ensuring timely and effective response to grid demands. Next slide, please. And for the last 5 key takeaways, data analytics integration, utilizing data analytics to monitor and evaluate programs' performance help identify areas for improvement and ensures data-driven decision-making. Scalability and flexibility, the ILP design allows for flexibility and scalability and flexibility to adapt to varying levels of demand and participant capabilities, making it a robust solution for different scenarios. Impact on business operations, while effective in reducing grid stress, it's important to continually assess and mitigate any negative impact on participants' business operation to maintain high levels of engagement and satisfaction. And in terms of future improvements, ongoing reviews and updates of the ILP are necessary to incorporate technological advancement, regulatory changes, and feedback from participants to enhance the program's effectiveness and efficiency. And lastly, collaboration with various stakeholders, including regulators, participants, and industry experts, is essential for the continuous improvement and success of ILP. I think that concludes my presentation today.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell, aka Captain Voltage. Okay, we would like to invite our final panelist, Mr. John Nicolai Sanchez. Okay, Mr. John Nicolai Sanchez, the head of Network Power and Engineering Audit at Meralco with a decade experience. John is a registered electrical engineer with a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Santo Tomas. He has completed the management development program at the ASEAN Institute of Management. Okay, the stage is yours.
I will now put you on board Captain John Nicolai Sanchez, aka call sign JNHS, aka Captain Tesla.
Thank you, Captain Voltage. So, good morning, everyone. So, to start, when it comes to technology, one of the most critical systems we use in Meralco is the SCADA. It's beneficial in any electric distribution utility as it helps to improve our system reliability through real-time monitoring and control. It reduces outage occurrence duration through quick information transfers, allowing us to efficiently identify and resolve the problem, which in turn increases customer satisfaction. So next slide. For this session, allow me to share with you Meralco's SCADA's distribution automation system infrastructure, some control areas we can look into in our operation and maintenance that can help enhance SCADA's equipment reliability, and lastly, to impart some of the data analytic tools, scenarios, and applications conducted in our previous SCADA audit. So next slide. The SCADA DAS infra consists of the following main component, which is from the master station to substation automation and to the feeder automation. So next slide. So first, we have the central control center or the master station. It is a network control system used by electric utilities to remotely manage the electric power distribution utility efficiently. The master station is composed of several servers talking to various remote terminal units in a substation to the distribution feeder automation, field devices at the distribution line for real-time monitoring and control. So next, under the substation automation is the remote, one of which is the remote terminal units or the RTUs. So it is a data concentrator which provide necessary interface between the substation equipment and the devices and into the SCADA master station. So the RTU physically collects, processes, transmits data to and from the field and to the master station, and also implements process directed by the master station. Next is the Intelligent Electronic Devices, or the IEDs. So these devices is used to measure current, voltage, power, and energy of the substation circuits for metering purposes. IEDs may communicate with the control server to capture the data and send it to the control server. The IEDs also provide a direct interface for equipment and sensor control and monitoring. Another will be the relay IEDs, which is to detect abnormal conditions in the power system, such as overcurrent, under voltage, ground faults, and initiate appropriate action, like tripping circuit breaker, or to isolate the fault or protect the equipment. So another will be the meter IED, which is primarily concerned with the measurement and data management. So it accurately measures electric quantities like voltage, current, power, energy, consumption, and power factor, among others. So another equipment among others for the substation would be the condition-based monitoring, which is a proactive tool or equipment which involves continuous monitoring of the condition of the equipment to predict potential failures and schedule maintenance accordingly. So in the context of SCADA systems, this control-based monitoring, or CBM, is implemented by integrating various devices and sensors to collect data on equipment health. So it includes vibration sensors to detect imbalances, misalignments, bearing wear, temperature sensors to identify overheating or cooling issues, pressure sensors to detect leaks, abnormal conditions, current sensors for overloading conditions, acoustic emissions sensors to detect any materials under stress. So next would be the feeder automation. So under this is the remote controlled line switches for remote opening and closing of the circuit, remote line reclosers for protection against short circuits and other faults. Also the remote line capacitors used for power factor correction, voltage regulation, load balancing. We also have the remote controlled voltage regulators to adjust output voltage. And last will be the fault circuit indicator, which is a device used to detect and locate faults. So on the next slide, let's talk about the controls in the SCADA master station. So one of the vital controls that we need to look into is the establishment of an emergency backup system, or the EBS. So one of the focus area that we can look into is the switchover of the main control or the master station to our EBS. So we also need to look if the company is testing the readiness to address the critical business interruption. Switch over of the SCADA DAS from the system control or the master station to the emergency backup systems is necessary to prepare for any contingency. So this might include natural disasters, civil disturbances, maintenance of the master station, and other litigious events. So we also can look into if there is a defined roles and responsibilities, who will man the EBS, who are the approved personnel, who has the access on the security zones, among others, which should be aligned and be updated with the current operating conditions and changes in the organization. Also, we can look if there is a step-by-step recovery procedures, which must comprehensively cover steps like the declaration of litigious event resulting from the inoperativeness of the master station. It also includes the detailed tasks for concerned line organizations, and also the existence of checklists for periodic inspection, maintenance, emergency switchover drill, and the actual incident processes. So we can look also if there is a notification procedures from the initiation of the switchover to the declaration of the successful switchover. Also, if there are required documentation that needs to be produced during the periodic inspection and maintenance activities, especially during the emergency drill. We also need to assess existence of key contact list, including other details of the relevant internal or external parties for the execution of the switchover drill. This would enable quick access to key personnel, including backup or alternative personnel for critical roles. Also, if there is also a defined activation criteria for conditions that will merit the switchover to the EBS. This include to the extent of the damage, criticality of the system, downtime duration that is expected that would exceed the recovery time objective as part of the activation criteria. So on the next slide, under the substation automation, we may look into the controls such as the exceptions reporting of real-time measurements or non-updating or availability of the device, electric quantities like the delayed indication or logging of SCADA, which may lead to loss of situational awareness by the operator and increased downtime of service interruption if not timely identified and resolved. Also, we can look if there are multiple or redundant communication links established as both wired and wireless telecom network for all substation automation devices as a contingency measure. So this includes in the event of a single point failure, there should be another communication links available to allow for remote control and operation of other devices. Also, if there's is point-to-point and functionality testing, which is part of our regular preventive maintenance. So this might include testing during the construction of new installation devices and functionality tests during maintenance. So this is performed to ensure proper configuration of devices for newly installed and existing devices to ensure that these are functioning as intended. So also we may look on to the real-time alarm and notification if this extends of the real-time alarm and notification of equipment availability. Real-time alarm notification like SMS for SCADA devices, such as RTUs that went out of service, are being sent to concerned SCADA engineers per area for their immediate attention and resolution. Also, we may look if there is a defined construction, maintenance, and testing procedures. We also need to look into the completeness and necessary supplemental guidelines and procedures for the PMT of the substation automation systems. And if there's any internally set or agreed maintenance frequencies or practices, this should be also formalized. So also there should be a monitoring of the periodic maintenance activities as the non-execution of this maintenance may lead to increased risk of equipment failure and outages, increased costs for repairs, replacements, decreased reliability of the distribution automation system. And lastly is the resolution of defective substation automation devices. So this should be part of our key performance indicators as the risk of untimely performance or non-performance of this maintenance of the identified critical SCADA assets may lead to faster asset deterioration, obsolescence, and equipment failure. So on the next slide will be the feeder automation. So similarly, we can look into the exceptions reporting of the real-time measurements and availability of remote line devices in our distribution lines. This allows the distribution utility to detect potential defect in the remote line devices for immediate correction. So the unavailability of the real-time analog readings that remote line devices may impact the operational efficiency, such as load shifting schemes during peak hours or when there is a power supply deficiency, and prevent overloading as well as equipment failure. So also it may have an impact on the balancing of loads to help reduce system losses and in controlling voltage levels to improve quality of power supply. We may look into the performance monitoring of analog readings availability of SCADA connected line devices. Delayed indication or lagging in SCADA events may lead to loss of situational awareness. So also, we can look into the monitoring as well of the periodic maintenance. Similarly, the risk of untimely performance may result to faster asset deterioration, obsolescence, and failure. So there should also be a defined procedures and the resolution of defective remote line devices, as well as standard corrective action procedures from identification up to the closure of non-conformances or processes, data quality, and technical standards. And last, we may also assess the existence of a deployment plan and execution of line devices and equipment conversion to remotely controlled, especially when we are in the transition from the manual to remotely controlled devices. So next slide, I will be sharing some of our data analytics tools, particularly the Microsoft Power BI and the Audit Command Language or ACL. Some of its application in our past audits as well. So as you can see in this slide, we use the Power BI. So we use extrapolate the SCADA event logs, readings from all remote line devices and substations at selected 3-point time interval throughout the day and check whether there is a change in the reading on the electric quantities like voltage, current. So it is expected that our SCADA master station receives information from external devices for every 1 to 60 seconds, depending on the capability of the device. So non-updating or when at least 2 out of 3-point interval have the same reading, this would be considered as exceptions that warrants further review and root cause analysis. So on the next slide, another would be we use the audit command language, or ACL, to determine occurrence and length of downtime experienced by the remote substation, remote RTUs, remote terminal units. So using the extracted event logs, where every change of the status, if either up or down status, and the corresponding timestamps interval, we can compute for the downtime event per equipment and make the necessary analysis to determine which devices would require troubleshooting and immediate correction. So on the next slide, again, we use the Power BI to consolidate and organize meter IED readings for us to be able to compute the relevant power quality parameters, such as voltage variations using line voltage readings, voltage imbalance calculated from phase voltage levels. So these parameters, when subjected to rigorous data analytics, will help identify the power quality profile of a specific point in the distribution system. So this data-driven approach enables the establishment of appropriate projects, adjustments to ensure the quality of power supplied to customers. Lastly, just to share some of the insights on the difference when we use the Power BI and in ACL, and which one to use when conducting data analytics. So depending on the varying nature of the format of the extracts, if data cleanup is necessary for us to be able to proceed with the analysis, we use Power BI. The option for visual representation, the use of M language for a more flexible data cleanup, and various options to filter criteria can really help identify non-standard fields, worksheets, common file names, which is necessary for us to consolidate multiple or big data. It is also helpful that we use Power BI together with third-party tools like DAX Studio to extract useful data, which we can export to either CSV or Excel file for further analysis. On the other hand, ACL, based on our experience, can provide a more deep dive data analysis, as it is really made for audit. It has a built-in controls, testing procedures like finding duplicates, Benford's law for detecting fraud. However, the disadvantage would be as ACL, we need to first do some necessary data cleanup outside ACL before proceeding with using this tool. So more importantly, having an in-house or dedicated data analytics team in internal audit really helps a lot and do more, particularly when dealing with big data. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John, aka Captain Tesla. Okay, thank you for all the panelists. It is complete now. And on the stage, we have covered a wide range of topic today. And Pak Sulis, I think, can I join one of the member of Maverick team, maybe as a temporary team? I think you can call me now Captain Lightning. Okay, without further ado, let's open the Q&A session. Okay, 3 from PLN. I think Mr. Hendrik first, Mr. Dwi, then Mr. Rizky. I think one by one.
Okay, thank you very much for the time given. Captain Latin, your name is Captain Latin. Thank you very much. My IT is still confusing to me. We know every day we see on TV there is a hacker, there is data breaches, there is people calling name Captain of Moon that are saying breach the data, but I never see. Probably I'm not convinced yet, but I think I never see someone who do the IT crime put in the jail. Police cannot investigate them or catch them to put in jail. In Indonesia, there is a data breach. It seems like robots from something like that. There is no name on the paper, but until now, the police, Björk, approach. Biorka, but never know who he is, Biorka, until now. The second thing, if you put your money in your company, you don't know how they manage your money. But there is accountant, public accountant that assure you that the company is, audit opinion is qualified and unqualified. So you can assure that your money is managed well. If you lend your money to other company, then there is a rating body that tell you that the rating is AAA. Your land is safe. My question, if you use system like ILP, who guarantee that you are safe? Use the system. Because if someone stolen or breach your data, probably in the next year, 5 years later, then they can paralyze your company. If someone, it says, if someone breaches your security, your national security data, probably 5 years later, in terms of data, 5 years later, not now. If your president go abroad, they will know the room number, hotel number. Probably they can put bomb there. So in terms of using application system, my first question is, I forgot my question. Who guarantee that you are safe? The second thing, there is a discussion in transmission operation. It's actually a discussion with Pak Musa about IT, but because we are specializing in transmission, we also invite to the meeting. And what of the topic there is, if we put the data and the application in our own server, it will be not reliable. The speed will be slower, and etc. So the option is to put in cloud, as the most beautiful one is Mrs. Storm. As the Mrs. Storm say, we can put the data in the cloud. So the second question, for the security national data, or like electricity data, because if someone breaches your data and he can make your system blackout every time he wants. How convinced you are to put your data in cloud? How much you convinced to put your data in clouds? And which cloud it is? Because I think, I don't know yet, but I heard there are some couples providers of cloud. I think so. I think there are things 30 seconds, but I still forget one. So just to thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hendrik.
Pa Hendrik, thank you for your $1 million question. Okay, I think I tried to list down some of your questions here. The first question is that, who is accountable? Just to let you know, you are responsible. Because number one is that you must employ what they call a zero trust. Zero trust means that you don't trust anyone, don't trust any system. So you always have to be putting up your own risk assessment, whether this company is something that I can, partner with or I can invest. Always look into the possibility that this company would have possible exposures. Just imagine, you said about putting up a lot of publications in newspaper. Even the government instrumentalities globally are the ones being affected. We even have those people from, call them National Bureau of Investigation or CIS. They're even being also attacked. Even the president's office. So zero trust means that you as a person, you need to deploy your own risk assessment. And that's why a lot of organizations would have to put a lot of these controls. Otherwise, they're also accountable. Each of us have different levels of accountability. The organization would also be accountable in case there would be a data breach, and that they will be subjected to fines and penalties that may be imposed by our data privacy regulators in each of the countries. So it is imperative that all of us will have to be accountable. So to your question, is there somebody that I can, who's accountable? It's us, okay? I think another question that you mentioned is about in the cloud space, in the cloud environment. It's just also like thinking, you don't see your data. How would you imagine trusting that? So that's why a lot of organizations will ask permission from you first. Whether you're okay that your data will be used for this purpose, whether your data will be stored like this, here and there. So it's really up to us to be able to manage our own transactions, our own data, particularly our personal information. So I hope that answers that question. A lot of those threat actors, they are more intelligent than anyone else. Why? Because they have the resources, but these resources are illegitimate. They are unauthorized. They are part of the syndicate. Just imagine pitting an organization with an X number of threat actors operating globally. Would you believe that a lot of these threat actors are not just in one country, but they're operating as a syndicate? And they're being trained, they're being paid for that. What we need to do is to increase our ethical hackers. That's the one we need to do. And I hope in the future, we will have them on board. Otherwise, if this, the threat actors at the dark web will be more than the ethical hackers or the white hackers, then we're all doomed. Believe me, we will be all doomed. You're correct. President or even an artist, they will be able to know the hotel where they're in, they check in, the room numbers. Probably, is that their fiancé or no? They will be able to do that. It's no different with paparazzi. But they're more technologically equipped to do that. Okay? Thank you, Pa.
Thank you. Okay, before Miss Wan.
All right.
Additional, okay.
Okay, Mel, I don't know whether you want to answer this or you want to pass to one of your captains. Okay, does audit perform independent penetration tests, or are you relying pen tests carried out by third party appointed by management?
Okay. A lot of organizations like Meralco, we do outsource that. Why? Is because there are technical requirements to be able to do a penetration testing. Any false positive or false negative might send an alarm to the organization, and the decision making might be too abrupt, and it might disrupt the entire operations. So it is very critical that the person who will have to deploy that will be definitely highly and technically equipped. I have spoken to the president, the CEO and the chairman of the board, as I mentioned earlier, MVP or Manuel Velez Pangilinan, mentioned to me that, Melanie, I don't want talk, I want you to do penetration testing. And he even challenged my captain penetration there, Mr. Lester Garing, are you expert enough to do that? The question is, of course he has a certification, but certification is only one step. You need to have a diverse experience, and the different use cases on how to do PT. Now, a lot of organizations would have to outsource because there are talents in the market that this is their business, okay? So what we can do is to complement that. Right now, Meralco IA will be sending my team for a cybersecurity training, and that there will be an immersion. So we're partnering with a cybersecurity group so that we can do a shadowing. We will be doing those together. And then from there, we will be probably working with a consultant to see so that we can, transfer the learnings. And once we are ready, we can do an independent one. Our chairman of the board really wanted from us independently to hear from us, Melanie, are there any attacks? But as I mentioned to you, the PT will only be successful with 3 elements. Number 1, people. Right skill sets, right talent, right competencies. Number 2, system or technology that involves the platform, the architecture, and the tools. And number 3 is the overall process. We need to be careful whenever we do a PT because that might, jeopardize the entire operations. Because when you do a PT, you have to stop some of those operations, and that might have a repercussion on the overall, delivery of our services. So we need to talk to our IT and OT on which ground we can do a PT at a certain point. You cannot full stop the operations, that's the thing. So we need to talk about what are the areas we can start off with, but they are critical enough to be considered for a PT or a penetration testing exam. The vulnerability assessment, we can do that. I can do that, but the PT is a different dimension. Okay? I hope I answered your question, Ibu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Mr. Dwi?
Thank you, Pak Musa. Is it okay if I have more than one question?
Yes, Pak.
Okay.
No worries.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Dwi from PLN. I would like to ask the superheroes team from Meralco. I will divide my question into 3 parts. One is about the tools. Do Meralco's internal auditors have specific tools or methodology to help the Meralco's internal audit in evaluating the control effectivity of cybersecurity? For example, in your presentation, you said that there are 7 or more in cybersecurity, and maybe one example for example, in endpoint security, how the internal audit conduct the evaluation or the audit for endpoint security implementation, for example. The second question, from what you are presenting, Meralco internal audit is heavily rely on data analytics. Would you mind to give a brief description about the internal audit related to IT internal audit in Meralco? How big the IT internal audit in Meralco? The second question. And the third question is related to the process, the performance indicator. Is there any performance indicator for internal auditor in Meralco related to the effort in evaluate and giving assurance to the cybersecurity, and also when a Meralco's internal auditor conduct the data analytic, for example, is there any special performance indicator for IA by do that activities? Thank you, Pak Musa.
Let me run through your question. The first question is about what are the tools and methodologies we used by IA in cybersecurity. As I did share with you, there were about 7 domains, and there were different tools that I have presented earlier. Majority of this acts differently. So like, for example, if you need to correlate, we use the NGSIM by Rapid7, as I mentioned to you. So there are transactions that might be flagged as alarm or detected as a red flag. We will definitely look into that and correlate that with various transactions within the different systems. So that's the number one that IA would have to look into. Also looking into the patching of the different applications. So we look into whether all of the different applications are being timely patched. And of course, the security management that they're carrying out. And we do that side by side with the tools that are being used by cybersecurity. So basically, whatever is available in Meralco, from cybersecurity or even in IT, we make use of them. We try to leverage on whatever is available that we can use. So all of these applications are being worked out with the line function. It is important that cybersecurity is with us, because we cannot just simply go and do the cybersecurity scanning if without the permission of the number one, the process owners, number two, agreement coming from the IT, OT from the network side, and definitely the cybersecurity. So it has to be a cross-functional activity. And we need to get permission even before we execute any project. So right now, like for example, what our CEO and chairman of the board wanted to do is to do a penetration testing. It has to be a cross-functional agreement, and that has to be also approved at the level of the audit committee. Because we need to cover also ourselves. Otherwise, we might end up with an accountability of disrupting the business. It has to be carefully crafted. So when Lester, for example, did the review for cybersecurity, they have to look into those 7 domains carefully using the CIS framework, which I shared with you earlier. There are 18 overarching controls, and each of them needs to be tested. So we also look into the 5 domains of the COVID-19. So these are the frameworks that we used to be able to test the different levels of controls. Yeah, so that's how we do it in Meralco. You know, we can share it with you if you really wanted a more detailed discussion on how we map the different levels of control layers as against the actual IT and OT applications and systems. On the infra level, of course, that's going to be very difficult to be auditing right now. So what we capture are the critical, or what we call mission critical systems first. So we cover those critical, or what we call the core applications. And the data servers would be very important. Particularly if you look at various data that would have an impact on SCADA and customers. So we look into EAM, that's our Enterprise Asset Management for the network side. And for the customers will be our CMS V10 and CXC, or our Customer Transformation Engine. So critically, we will have to define the different levels of risk for each system, follow the different standards which I mentioned to you earlier. There are 4 of them that we use, and we even combine them all together to be able to ensure that we are covering all the critical aspects on the technical side, on the process side, and at the same time on the operation side. So we do that. So even IT would know what are we going to cover. But there are no surprises whenever we audit, because we don't want to be ending up being blamed, oh, because IA touched this database, or IA did this, did that. No, so we are very careful. Yeah. So I think that's your first question.
Yeah, so basically the IA in Meralco have continuous access to cybersecurity tools that are provided by the first line, right?
Yes, so
Okay.
we work together with them. Otherwise, you know, it's useless buying your own. It's already in the system. It's in the organization. You have to make use of that. So we also, what we have, we call like shadowing. We can also observe how cybersecurity is performing that, and then we do a validation right after. So we try to replicate the way that they're doing it and see whether there's something in the process that is amiss, or if there's something that they need to consider whenever they run certain analysis. How do they do the correlation? And we have a command center for cybersecurity where we can also make an observation. So we have a 24/7 team in cyber. And just to share with you, MVP is highly critical in terms of technology. So he even hired a group from Israel. I will not mention the name of the vendor, but they're the ones really helping us. So what they do is they are also our next layer of control. They will be running all their tools. They have their different tools, unlike us. They have more advanced tools. So they will run that and they will flag any suspicious transactions. But of course, it will have to be given back to IT and cybersecurity for us to do the investigation, and the response will be critical. And that's where IA would also have to look into it. How is the SLA, as soon as this outsourced provider will be giving those results, how fast IT, cyber, and OT will be responding on those attacks or possible attacks. Okay. And in terms of the data analytics adoption, we have a dedicated data analytics team which we created. That's under Captain Ellsworth we took here. Can you raise your hands, Els? Yeah. So Els is the one responsible for that. Initially, Mas here was asking me, Ibu, very difficult to be getting a data analytics person. You know, guys, the trend now is convert your auditors to data analytics, data analysts. They can never be just simply auditors by role. They have to be trained. So Meralco, in my team, we're heavily investing money to train our people to be experts on ACL. Else have several tools that they're using. They have DAX Studio. You have also, what else are the other tools that they're using? They have Power BI, SQL.
We're also using Microsoft SQL and all the Microsoft products within the Microsoft environment.
So they keep on updating those, depending on whatever is available also within the organization. He is closely working with IT for all of the different tools. And we have also partnership with IT for certain cases, whereby they will have to run also some scripts for us, especially if it's very sensitive information that IA cannot touch. The line will agree, but of course we have to work with IT. Okay, so I think that's one of the most important thing that we need to consider. I think you have another question. Let me... yeah, the performance indicators for IA. We are not driven by the cybersecurity as an engagement. We are driven by several facets, like the completion of the plan, which includes cybersecurity review. So it is important for us to be able to manage the quality. There is a data quality aspect for our KPI. Meaning to say that there should be no instance that we report erroneously. So there should be a quality audit that we need to perform. The timeliness of when we execute that, because if, let's say, there's a timing problem that we execute the cybersecurity at Q4, when in fact it should have been in Q1, something happened along the way, then of course it's going to be our accountability. So timing is very important. Our SLA for completing the project is another important for doing that. Cybersecurity is not an easy audit. You know, a lot of people from the client would always like, wow, are they really expert to do this? You know, they will even challenge you, auditors, are you really capable? So, you know, my colleagues, it is about time. We need to shine. And we must face them and tell them, we are even better than you are. So, but how can we do that is we need to be really beefing up our talents, our competencies and skills. We cannot rest our laurels. We need to excel. We need to be more proactive on how we should learn. And imagine, I really encourage all my team here, even to the staff level, to take a lot of certifications. Year on year, we're taking exams, by the way, guys. We want to stop the CIAC or AMA, but we should not stop. Okay? So I think that's critical. Even in IT, they would always challenge internal auditors not being so good. They will be amazed that we know exactly the roadmap. They will be amazed on how we know the functionality of the systems. So that only proves that these internal auditors make sense. Because if they don't see that from each one of us, they will just say, oh, don't believe them. They don't even know what they're talking about. Yeah? So it's very important that we need to showcase what we can offer, what we can put in the table, and why we would be a valued partner for this engagement. I think that's the key thrust. And you know, honestly, guys, we've been receiving a lot of attention from our clients. It only means that we're being, effective. If not, if they don't read your reports, they don't come back to you, they don't send response, I think we have a big problem. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question, Pa. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay. It's actually time's up, but I think this is a rare event. I want to ask one additional question from Sarawak. Okay. Please make it quick and clear question.
Okay, I'll make it quick. So interesting about the ILP itself, because you put in the slide relating to the three-party agreement. Yeah,
Yes.
from Captain Voltage, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so just want to know on the parties which is involved with the three-party agreement, which is the ILP agreement itself.
For the tripartite agreement,
That's my first question, sorry.
Sorry.
My second part is basically on, interesting to see ILP because it's one of the mechanisms that's unique to Philippines. So we just want to know if at the event of ILP is not enough to actually help the grid, is there any other mechanisms that you have to actually recover from that position? Yeah, those are my two questions.
Okay, I will answer first your second question. In terms of the activation of ILP, we have sequence in terms of before implementing ILP. We are allowed by our regulators to source with our IPPs, but it should be an approved or existing contracts between the independent power producer. So we can source that during the time of red alerts. But if you don't have existing or approved contracts between the IPPs and with the DU, you can implement the ILP where you requested your participating customers, because ILP is a voluntary. So that's why we're strengthening and improving our process in terms of the ILP for us to sustain the requirement of our customers. So ILP is the second one as an alternative if we don't have existing IPPs with existing contracts with IPPs. So ILP, as I have mentioned in my presentation, so we requested our customers to deload and use their own gensets for some that have existing. But the requirement is at least 1 megawatt from our existing customers. And I think the last resort is the manual load dropping or rotational brownouts across our franchise area, which is we're trying to avoid for us to have a sustainable energy across our franchise area. And in terms of your first question, which is tripartite agreement, so we have two sets of customers participating in ILP, the captive and the contestable. For the contestable customer, these are our retail electricity, we have our retail electricity arm, or RES, retail electricity services, with agreement with the RES arm, and of course the power producer. And of course, the DU that will be the what do you call this? The channel for distributing the energy. So that is the tripartite agreement between the RES, the power gen company, and of course the DU.
And I think, Wendell, in addition to that, the manual drop is the last resort. It is very critical that the preventive will happen at the time that we're doing the demand and supply. And remember the one at the Philippines that we're sharing the needed requirements of supply and the possible problems with respect to providing those supply to the customers. That has to be taken into consideration. We have a specific unit responsible for that, and they review that very well. because we don't want complaints from the customers. Number one is because we do have a customer service index, and that is a highly regulated PIS or performance incentive scheme for Meralco being a public distribution utility company. So that is very, very essential. So manual drop would be the last resort, but preventive will have to come in first. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Unfortunately, our time for question has come to an end. Yeah, thank you all for your engaging question and active participation. Before we close our session today, we will take a look for some video, and I would like to invite once again for Commander Storm to have a closing statement for me. Thank you.
I hope we were able to provide some sharing to you guys, because I know it's a little bit limited time. If you have more, we could have shared, a lot in terms of details. Probably we can do that in the next couple of HAPUA sessions. And you can actually drop a note to us. You can send us an email if you feel that we can add some support to you. That would be definitely fine with us. We were told that we will be the next sponsor for the next HAPUA. So we're taking this together with my partners from Transco, Napocor, and of course NGCP. We will be working our Filipino talents here on IA. We will be working with you guys to provide, if not the best, at least the most comfortable that you can have for the next HAPUA. This is a short video about Philippines. I hope you would be able to come over and see the beauty of our country. Yes, please. Thank you.
In the house, put the parties out. First choice, first love, you can ask the crowd.
So our country is safe. You can see, the preparations of Philippines. So we will welcome you. Salamat pagi. Salamat datang when you come there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Give big applause once again for our panelists. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, Mrs. Melanie Otesia, Mr. Dave Cruz, Mr. Wendell Calvendra, and Mr. John Sanchez. Okay, I also want to extend my gratitude for our audience. As we keep exploring AI and data analytics, let us use what we have learned today to drive innovation and uphold integrity in our work. Until we meet again, I'm Captain Lightning, temporary member of Captain Maverick, Team Maverick. Wishing you a wonderful afternoon and goodbye.
Thank you for our panelists. Please feel free to return to your seat. Thank you for our panelist speaker and moderator. It's such a great sharing experience and knowledge. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are incredibly grateful to have you here. It is our honor to have you here with us. So, as symbolizing our good relation, we would like to invite Bapak Sulistyo Biantoro to the stage to give the intimate gift to our representative delegation from each utilities company. Please. And we kindly invite you to come up to the stage. Representative delegation from TNB, Meralco, National Power Corporation Philippines, Singapore Power, Sarawak Energy, Vietnam Electricity EVN, Electricity de Laos, Department of Electrical Services Brunei Darussalam, and National Transmission Corporation Philippines.
With the ladies.
Please give a round of applause to our representative delegations.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next agenda is take a break for lunch. After lunch, the agenda will be held at Taman Mini Indonesia Indah. For a little bit information, my partner Mbak Widya will explain about Taman Mini Indonesia Indah.
So we plan to head to Taman Mini after lunch, ladies and gentlemen. Taman Mini is the prime showcase of Indonesia's rich cultural and natural diversity. Popularly known as Taman Mini, consists of 26 exclusive replicas of traditional houses of chieftains found throughout the Indonesian archipelago from Aceh to Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Java, and Papua. These are pavilions displaying the history, arts and crafts and traditions of each of the provinces. Taman Mini has large areas for a number of flora and fauna parks, various museums, and performing theaters. All participants will enjoy the tour and performance.
So, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of third panel session, means that discussion of sharing session of HAPUA Audit Summit 2024 is done.
On behalf of PLN, we would like to take this moment to bid our farewell. We sincerely apologize for any shortcomings or mistakes that may have occurred during this event. We extend our deepest gratitude to our distinguished speakers and moderators, as well as all audience for being a part of this enlightening event.
Your present and active participation have made this event a resounding success. May the insight gained today continue to guide us toward a future of sustainable progress and collaboration.
Thank you and see you on
Next HAPUA event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.